this business that we're generating $215,000 net income, right? So all the stuff we put in, how it all played out on a GAAP, general accepted, we're going to make $215,000. Good business, right? On $2 million of sales, a little less. You'd think we'd be flush with cash. The reality is, when you look at cash flow, and this is critical in my world, is I've got a operating cash flow deficit February, March, April, May, June. Before I start collecting money, all of a sudden, the end of the day, you know, I've created an additional $183,000. But here's my line of credit. I had to go up to, I changed that one. I should have changed that.
Last line is the balance.
So what I ended up doing is changing that one formula, that assumptions. Change that back to 160. Still something got messed up. Oh, there it is. Okay.
So hopefully
Never mind.
they have $1 million
Down here,
line.
so down here we're up to almost, my line of credit is almost $850,000.
Hopefully they have $1 million line.
Right, right. So knowing this going into this year, going, look, folks, I need $1 million to capitalize this next year. We're going to make $215,000 by the end of the year. We're going to be more cash in the bank. But in order to get there, I got to have a line of credit. So it's critical to understand your cash flow in how your budget works. Again, you can look at a budget and go, you know, my cost of goods sold is in the same month I book my sales, and everything looks really good. But when you play it out on a cash flow basis, particularly if you have to buy stuff in advance, takes time to manufacture, you give terms to your customers, it really has a huge impact on your cash flow. So that's why it's so important, cash flow projection, using these realistic numbers and assumptions. And then I play that all out into a balance sheet. And so again, you can see receivables. One other thing that I then try to match it up with the previous years, and I a lot of times roll out several years to go, how does that compare to prior years? Does anything look fluky on there? Maybe my sales trend is way too high compared to last year, and it's like this is not realistic, or some of my expenses are way out of line. So that gives me a good check into what last year, what I'm projecting. And then finally I do a balance sheet that, again, you can see, go up to the top, up to fixed assets and assets, so you can see how your receivables, accounts receivable, we've collected it all, everything that was last year's sales by here. We're not selling anything. Now we sold in March $105,000, but we're not collecting it, so our receivables sitting on the books. We're adding inventory because we had to buy that 60 days in advance. Inventory's going up again. Finally, we've got some big sales in May, so our inventory is still going up, but we're starting to collect some, as we saw in the cash flow. And ultimately, you know, we're hitting $768,000 in receivables. Inventory at some point comes up to $375. I mean, those are important things to understand and be able to show your bank as well that, you know, there's ratios they're looking at, and you can show, okay, if I have to report to them second quarter, you know, my ratios may not look so good because I've got a ton of money in my line of credit, not a lot of sales, and so you can look at, show them this balance sheet and how that changes to the end of the year. And so, again, all this stuff put all together. Being a solopreneur, probably not as critical. I mean, it's not as complex, I should say. But still, if you're changing the terms, you know, I've got one client that's, you know, 60 days out. Well, that affects my budget, and I've had to now change some things in my budget because my receivables is growing too high. Well, now I have to make a decision. Do I keep that client, or do I drop them and hope I can fill it in the back end? Do I think I'm going to collect it? I mean, all those sort of things. But in the meantime, it affects my cash flow today because I've got receivables growing. And the same thing in your in any consulting businesses, that's the key. And how efficient are you with your time, right? So I want to make $180,000. Well, I know what my bill rate is. I know how many hours that takes. I go, oh, that's easy. I can do 35 hours a week. That's a piece of cake. The reality is that, my utilization rate probably down there closer to 60%, right? So now I know either got to raise my bill rate, reduce my expectations, or work longer hours, right? So figuring all that stuff out, a little bit of what I do. So,
Well, and in October we've got Ron Report coming from Columbia Bank, and he's going to teach us how to explain this to our bankers so that they give us the
There you
$1 million
go.
credit. So that'll be an interesting one.
there you go.
That's right, because if you show your cash flow statement of, I intend to earn about $200,000 at the end of the year,
So give me a mill.
but I'm gonna need $1 million from you in order to do that.
They're going to say,
That is a sales.
Well, I've
right
had
there.
that conversation with particularly this one client, and I actually had a 3-year projection because it's in the startup, more of a startup mode, and we're sucking cash, right? And I'm showing this out to him, and unfortunately we didn't do too well in our sales forecast, so I'm having to build trust again, credibility. But it's like, okay, I know you're feeling really uncomfortable with this line of credit at this point, but here's what next year's going to look like. Here's what next year's going to look like, for me, going to a banker, it's all about. I mean, they're looking at numbers, but you got to get them a little bit beyond just looking at numbers, because you got to tell the story behind it and show how that's going to move forward. So anyway, that's 1 o'clock, and. Anybody that wants this slide and or the template, projection template, happy to email that to you. Grab a card, email me. Most of you have my email address already, and I'll be happy to send that to you. If you would like some additional insights and help, I'm always happy to help folks, give them some insights. I'm not going to do the work for you. Give the insights and help for free, because I believe in giving back to the community, and I believe in helping people flourish, and I know you guys, it's not going to be worth spending a lot of money as a solopreneur for my services. That's not my target market, not my profile company, but I'm happy to help you, because I know that
our clients can hire you to do the work.
that's the idea. So I help you, you help me down the road with something else. So that's what this world's all about. So. All right.
Art, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.